Imagine for a moment that the actor you admire today, who draws breath in every scene and seems born for success, almost gave up on everything before he even achieved fame. Hard to believe, isn't it? Well, that's exactly the story of Yoo Yeon-seok. Behind the cameras, before the applause, there was a young man full of doubts, fears, and obstacles that seemed insurmountable. He wasn't born on a bright stage, nor did he have doors immediately open to him. On the contrary, he faced moments of frustration that could have ended his career before it even began. And believe me, when you discover the details of what really happened, you'll realize that Yoo Yeon-seok's life was far more difficult and surprising than any drama script he ever starred in. Today, when we see him shining in successful dramas, it's easy to think his path to fame was a straight line. But the truth is, there were nights when he wondered if he should really continue. There were days when each no he received at an audition weighed more heavily than the last. And like any ordinary person, he felt like giving up. But inside him was a fragile but insistent flame that told him to try one more time. That flame is what made all the difference. And that's what makes his story so inspiring. Yoo Yeon-seok isn't just the actor who landed prominent roles, but also the young man who nearly abandoned his own dreams. The contrast between what he experienced and what he achieved is what will keep you captivated by this video from beginning to end. So, before we continue, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like. Because the story you're about to discover will change the way you see Yoo Yeon-seok forever. When he was still just a young man full of dreams, Yoo Yeon-seok never imagined how difficult the path to becoming an actor would be. It all began timidly, with that sparkle in his eyes of someone who believes he can conquer the world. He saw on movie screens and in plays not only fictional stories, but also the opportunity to live different lives, to convey emotions, and to touch people's hearts. And it was this passion that drove him to take his first steps onto the stage. But the beginning is never easy. Contrary to what many people think, Yoo Yeon-seok didn't reach the top overnight. He started out in roles so small that sometimes he barely appeared in the scene. He was the lead's friend with barely any lines, or the background character who went unnoticed in a story. Even so, he saw each of these opportunities as a chance to learn. He rehearsed, dedicated himself, and turned every detail into a lesson for the future. Imagine dreaming big, but having to start from the bottom, with almost invisible steps. That's exactly what he experienced. And even with limited visibility, he had a determination that grew with each passing day. What seemed small to others was a stepping stone to him, and that's precisely where the magic lies. Yoo Yeon-seok didn't give up when everything seemed too small. He knew that even the biggest stars began as sparks, and so with patience and willpower, he began building the foundation of what would one day become his great career. After taking his first steps, Yoo Yeon-seok began to feel the true weight of the path he had chosen. Being an actor wasn't just about memorizing lines and appearing in front of the camera. There was an invisible wall in front of him, immense competition. Thousands of young people dreamed of the same career, and each audition felt like a battle where only one would emerge victorious. And more often than not, that someone wasn't him. The negative responses began to pile up. You don't have the profile. You're not the face we're looking for. Maybe in another role. Imagine hearing that over and over, day after day. Little by little, his confidence began to waver. He questioned whether he really had talent, whether the effort he put into each audition made any difference. The sparkle in his eyes remained, but doubts began to creep into his mind. It wasn't just the competition, there was also social pressure. Friends and family asked if it wasn't time to look for something safer, more stable, and he silently carried the burden of seeming like someone who insisted on a dream that was too distant. It's hard to keep going when everything around you seems to be telling you it won't work out. These invisible barriers weren't made of bricks or closed doors, but of words, glances, and comparisons. And yet, they were heavy. Yoo Yeon-seok faced a dilemma anyone could understand. Fight to the end or accept that perhaps this wasn't her path. But it was precisely in these moments of doubt that his story began to take shape. Because even surrounded by uncertainty, he never stopped trying. It was at this point in his journey that Yoo Yeon-seok reached his breaking point. The constant rejections at auditions were no longer just minor frustrations. They began to become a burden too heavy to bear. Each time he heard a no, it felt like a piece of his confidence was being stripped away. He was still very young, full of drive, but life seemed to be telling him that the dream of becoming an actor might not be for him. The bills were unbearable, the audition schedule was exhausting, and to make matters worse, He saw colleagues landing roles while he remained on the sidelines. Imagine dedicating time, effort, and passion to something and still not landing a spot. This scenario made Yoo Yeon-seok seriously consider quitting. There were days when he looked in the mirror and wondered if he was fooling himself. Was he chasing something impossible? Wasn't it time to choose a safer path, a stable job, even if away from the stage? This doubt wasn't fleeting, it was constant, lingering in his mind like a shadow. Few people realize, but he came very close to abandoning everything. One more step in that direction and the world might never have known Yoo Yeon-seok's talent. This phase was marked by silence, long nights of questioning, and the fear of having invested years in a dream that would never bear fruit. But no matter how strong the urge to give up was, there was still an insistent flame inside him, a small voice that said, "Try one more time." Just when it seemed like his dream was about to end, life surprised Yoo Yeon-seok. Amidst so many rejections, a small, almost unnoticed opportunity arose, but one that would change everything. He was cast in a supporting role, one that doesn't receive much attention. But for him, it represented a new opportunity. And unlike many, he treated that moment as if it were the most important role of his life. Behind the scenes, his dedication drew attention. He arrived early, prepared carefully, and even though he had few lines, delivered each one with truth. Directors and colleagues realized there was something special about this young man who wouldn't give up, even after so many setbacks. And that's how, little by little, his name began to be remembered. The turnaround didn't happen overnight, but that small piece of paper opened a door, then another, and another. Like a domino effect, new opportunities arose, all fueled by her persistence. What seemed like a last gasp before giving up turned into the beginning of a climb. Imagine the scene. Someone almost throwing in the towel, but just when they're about to give up, they find the drive they need to keep going. That's exactly what happened to Yoo Yeon-seok. This phase showed that sometimes life presents us with something small, something many would ignore, but which can be a turning point. And for Yoo Yeon-seok, it was proof that every effort, every tear, and every attempt was worth it. What seemed like the end of the line became the foundation for a true new beginning. Yoo Yeon-seok, who had so often considered giving up, used all his frustrations as fuel. Each no he received became motivation to do better, to study harder, to show that he wasn't just another, trying to make a place in the artistic world. The pain he carried didn't paralyze him. On the contrary, it shaped his strength. Little by little, the flame that had almost died out within him began to grow again. After his first role, which opened doors for him, he began receiving more consistent invitations. They weren't major leads, but they were roles that allowed him to showcase the talent that had lain hidden for so long. And when he finally began to shine, audiences realized there was something special about his acting: intensity, dedication, and authenticity. From someone nearly invisible on stage, Yoo Yeon-seok began to be recognized. People began to remember his name, applaud his performances, and follow his evolution. What was once just a distant dream was now becoming reality before everyone's eyes. This transition from rock bottom to recognition wasn't quick or easy, but it was living proof that persistence pays off. He not only made a name for himself, but also showed the world that even the greatest difficulties can be transformed into stepping stones to success. And it is precisely this contrast that makes his career so inspiring. The actor who almost gave up is the same one who shines brightly today. Yoo Yeon-seok's story is proof that even the most unlikely dreams can come true when there's the courage to keep going. He was very close to giving up, so close that a different decision would have completely erased the chance of getting to know the actor who now enchants millions. But instead of giving up, he chose to persist. He turned every rejection into a learning experience, every setback into strength, and every small role into an opportunity to grow. Today, when we see Yoo Yeon-seok shining in successful dramas and winning the affection of fans, it's easy to forget how much he struggled in the beginning. But knowing this hidden side of his journey makes his career even more meaningful. He didn't just achieve fame. He overcame internal battles, overcame doubts, and showed that obstacles don't define one's destiny. They're just part of the journey. Her story reminds us that giving up may seem like the easiest way out, but persisting, even when everything seems impossible, can completely change the course of your life. Yoo Yeon-seok shows us that believing in yourself is the first step to turning impossibilities into achievements. And now I want to hear from you. What did you think of this journey? Do you believe it was fate or the strength of persistence that got Yoo Yeon-seok this far? Leave your comment, like the video, And of course, subscribe to the channel to see more inspiring stories like this. Because, like Yoo Yeon-seok, each of us carries a dream that only needs courage to blossom.